Welcome back to Observing the Sabbath. I'm Nathaniel Molnar, and this is our final album review for 1970s Black Sabbath. On the channel, as you've hopefully been following, we went through, listened to, commentated during, and reacted to all songs from the album. We did Black Sabbath, we did The Wizard, we did Behind the Wall of Sleep, we did NIB, we did Wicked World, and then we did Warning. It's a great album. And now I just want to take some time to delve into the album a little bit, give my overall thoughts on the album. So as I've been mentioning as we've been going through it, one of the things that stands out most about this album is that it was originally written and constructed to be the live set for the band. They had 2 days in the studio, 1 day to record, 1 day to mix, and so they took their live set that they'd been playing at shows and they recorded that, and you really get that feel of continuity and progression and flow all the way through the whole album between all the different songs. It really feels like it was one long show, one long set that they were playing. And I feel like that's one of the strengths of this whole album, is that you have that like basic flow all the way through from the very beginning to the very end. It has that sort of nature to it. And I think that is one of the things, in my opinion, that works so well for it. If I had to pick a favorite song from this album, I would go probably with the opening song, Black Sabbath. It has such power to it. It has an aggression to it. And it really is a song that it's interesting that the song kind of defined the identity of what Black Sabbath was perceived to be, and what Black Sabbath, the bands at the time when they were kind of coming up with what this band was going to be. That song was the more influential song for defining what they were going to try to go for. And yet that song is radically different from, they never really go back to that song for the rest of the album, or the rest of their career rather. It really stands on its own as its own kind of song and style compared to the rest of the album and the rest of their entire career, and yet it was the song that kind of solidified for them the kind of band they were going to try to be. They don't really go into horror in the same way that they did with that song for the rest of their career. And it's kind of interesting to look at something like Black Sabbath, the song, and look at some of the tracks off of Never Say Die, like Air Dance, and you go, this is the same band? And that's something, when we're going through all these albums, that's something I'm going to keep hammering in. And for some people, it may be a detractor. For me, I think it is a benefit that they are always trying to change and evolve and grow and become something new. They're not stagnant. They don't try to stay the same. They're never kind of sticking in one place. And sometimes it worked really well, and sometimes it didn't work so well. But I always got to give them credit, because they are always trying to do something new and to not just be the same. There are so many bands that for so long just kind of did the same thing. And it got old quick, and then people just kind of looked at it as, oh, that's really sad. That's just them doing what they're always doing, and they really need to get out of that, but they're just stuck in this one place. They're like one note, and that's all they can do. For better or for worse, whether it worked or it didn't work, Black Sabbath was always trying to do something different and new and unique, and I appreciate that and I respect that. And I think this album is one of my favorite albums for their entire career. Probably by the end of this, once we've go through every single album, I'll talk a little bit more about how I would rank albums, how I'd rank songs, but this is just one of their strongest, and it might be their most cohesive. It might be one of their most, has a similar sound, a similar feel, all the way through. And while there's a lot of other albums where it kind of has highs and lows where it kind of is one way for some part and then it changes gears and then it changes gears again. This is really kind of, it's cohesive all the way through. It has a tone, it has a style, and it carries that through all the way through the entire album. And that might not work all the time, but for this album and for the songs that they have on this album, I thought it worked really well. So Black Sabbath, 1970, their first studio album. We went through, listened to all their songs. I talked about them, I commentated during them, and I gave you my thoughts and my reactions. And I gotta say, I've loved reading your comments, hearing from you guys what you thought on each of the songs. And it's really kind of, you've actually really given me a lot of different points and unique things, similarities and comparisons to songs later in their career that I hadn't even thought about. And I thought they were really strong points. And so please continue on with those comparisons, with those comments. Continue on with all that, because I'm loving reading them, and you're making me think deeper and think more about these songs and think more about this band. And that's what I want us to do here on this channel. I want this to not just be me talking into a camera about my thoughts on a band. I want to hear from you guys what your thoughts are, and I want this to be more of a dialogue, more of a conversation, rather than me just talking into a camera. So please continue with all that, because I'm really liking hearing everything about this. So that's my thoughts, and that's my wrapping up of the 1970 album, Black Sabbath. What are your thoughts on the album as a whole? What's your favorite song from the album? What's your favorite riff from the album? Where does this album compare with the rest of their albums that were to come? How do you hold it? Is it one of your favorites? Is it one of your least favorites? Is it right in the middle? Is it your definitive favorite? I want to know. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Once again, I'm Nathaniel Molnar. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to subscribe, and keep up with Observing the Sabbath, because our next thing that we're going into is we're going to be looking at Paranoid, which also came out the same year as this album. And for a couple of them, we're going to have some special guests. So you want to keep your eyes out for that. It's going to be a fun one, and I'm looking forward to picking this all up again with War Pigs. So until our next observation, until we come back to listen to more Black Sabbath, thank you for watching.